Okay, today I'm going to talk to you about physics equations. Now, I've come up with a technique that should help you to answer pretty much any equation question in physics. Now, this may look weird, but this is actually a picture to help us remember the different stages involved in doing an equation. So obviously, Albert Einstein was the master of equations, so the mnemonic to help remember it is Albert Einstein's rabbit can see completely red unicorns. Now what that stands for is these different stages here. Annotate, equation, rearrange, convert, substitute, calculate, round and units. If you follow each of these steps through, then you should be able to answer pretty much every question in physics to do with equations. So here's an example. So the question says, a car accelerates at a constant rate of 0.00183 kilometers per second squared along a flat, straight road. The car accelerates from rest for 16 seconds. Calculate the velocity of the car after 16 seconds. Show your answer to two significant figures. So this is a kind of typical question we get at GCSE. So the very first thing I want you to do is I want you to think back and I want you to remember this. This is the bit that you revise to help you remember. So you write down right here, Albert Einstein's rabbit can see completely red unicorns. You literally write this down because this becomes your checklist. So step one, annotate. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to annotate this. So right, that there, that is acceleration, isn't it? So let me see, 16 seconds, that's a time. So it's asking you to calculate the velocity. So I'm thinking, right, what equation has got A, T and V? Oh, I know the one. I know the very equation. That equation is A. So now I've annotated it. I tick my annotate here. But the equation I'm looking for equals acceleration equals final velocity, take away initial velocity, divided by time. But whereabouts is my U? Okay, let's go back through. Well, if it's from rest, that is actually my initial velocity, isn't it? Because at the beginning, it is not moving at all. Okay, so now I've done two stages. I've annotated it and I've written down the equation. Please remember to write down the equation because you get a mark for remembering it. Okay, next up is R. I have to rearrange this. So I'm trying to find the velocity, so I need to make V the subject of the equation. So what I do is I draw two lines down here and I've got to do the same thing to both sides of the equation. So first of all, I want to get rid of this T. So I'm going to times both sides by T. So I now have AT equals V minus U. Next up, I want to get V all by itself, so I'm going to add U to each side. So now I have AT plus U equals V. Now I'm just going to write that round the other way, just because I prefer to have the thing I'm looking for on the left-hand side of the equation. So I've done my rearranging. I tick that off. Notice how I'm using this as a checklist as I go through. My next C, convert. So what I need to do is I need to go through and see the numbers that I've got and see if they need converting. So this one here is in kilometers per second squared. I want it in meters per second squared. So to do that, I need to times it. To get from kilometers to meters, I need to times it by 1,000. So this equals 1.83 meters per second squared. Okay? Now, what's also important when I'm converting is if I do not need to convert anything, I'm just going to put a little tick by this to show that I've actually considered whether it needs converting or not. So that's my converting done. I tick this off on the right-hand side. Next up, S is for substitute. So now I'm going to physically put my numbers in. So let's have a look. V equals A. My value for A is right here. So 1.83. Again, I could use this to help me remember which letter's which. Times T. T is here, 16. And my initial velocity, well, my velocity at rest is going to be 0 because I'm travelling at 0 meters per second. So that is my substitution. Another step done. Next up, what I have to do is I put these numbers in. 1.83 times 16 plus 0. So that gives me 29.28. Always use a calculator, even if you think you do it in your head, to double check your answer. So I've now got to my stage where I've rounded it. Now it's asked me to do the answer to two significant figures. So what I need to do is I need to look for the first two non-zero values, which are here and here. So that 9, is that going to round up or is it going to round down? Because that's less than 5, it's going to round down. So it equals 29. So I've now done my rounding. And my final step, U, is for units. Now, what I found is a V, which is velocity. So I've got to think, what are my units for velocity? It's meters per second. So now I have done my U. As you can see, by making this checklist right here, it gives me a way to easily work through my answers. Also, even if I get the final answer wrong, I'm going to pick up marks along the way for doing loads of these different things and showing my working to the examiner. So guys, just to summarise, please remember Albert Einstein's rabbit can see completely red unicorns. Write these letters down at the beginning of any physics equation and use it as a checklist of how to access the question. Thank you very much.